Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to another edition of DIY Money.
DIY Money.
DIY Money. What else is shaking in your world, Daniel?
Life is good.
Life is good. What makes it good?
I'm apparently amazing at fantasy football, which we'll talk about next time Logan's on the show.
Are you winning your league?
Second place.
That's fantastic. Are you I'm guessing, here's what I guess about you.
Guessing.
Because when I go into the NCAA March Madness polls,
Yeah.
there's always people who just say, oh, a 2 versus a 5, the 2's going to win. A 13 versus a 1, the 1's going to win. So they'll take the odds. Whereas somebody like myself would be like, oh, boy, I really like the Creighton, UMass upset. So let's go, even though it's a 5-12, whatever. Whereas the probabilities, obviously, they're ranked higher. So I'm guessing that you are approaching this not necessarily knowing who the players are that you're putting in.
No idea who they are.
But it's only based on the rankings, and you're putting in the good players that you have the ability to buy and trade for and so forth.
As much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No flyers.
While taking into some qualitative injury reports and so forth. But yes.
Now, what's I started getting the, Las Vegas line mail that's starting to come in. What's that all about? I mean, are we getting comped at hotels here soon or what?
Hopefully.
All right.
Joking, of course.
Yes, of course. All right. Let's what else is housekeeping? Swag is awesome. I'm gonna wear my new hoodie that I got on the next show. It's awesome, by the way. I have my kids, they want some now, so that's gonna be
Are there kid
Christmas
sizes?
gifts. Yeah, of course. You get all
Sweet.
sizes, colors, and if you not looked at this, apparently.
Not
Anyways,
for my kids.
Okay.
No.
Yes, all your family should be all swagged out.
Yeah.
Swagged out on the DIY Money swag. Tribe is rocking. Insta's still rocking. All the things are rocking. We're rocking around the Christmas tree.
Not yet.
I did start
even
listening to a
Thanksgiving.
little Christmas music the
What?
other day. They got it on a local station here. Have you heard the a cappella arrangement of the 12 Days of Christmas that's kind of going around? It is awesome. It's a mashup with, and now I can't think of the song name, Africa. It's a 12-day of Christmas. Google this, friends and family out there listening to this podcast. Google the mashup, 12 Days of Christmas and Africa.
Okay.
It's awesome. Really,
so you
really
don't
good.
silo your holidays. Like, you're not all in on Thanksgiving right now and waiting for Christmas.
No, I just was messing around with the stations, and a local station had Christmas music on, and it put me in a good, cheery mood. I was like, I'm in a cheery mood. Hey, righto, crikey.
I'll be cheery after the fourth
Cheerio.
Thursday in November.
All right, let's go. We got a great question here from Steve. What do you got?
DIY Money! Hey guys, Stevie Vetter here. I'm 28 years old. I'm a resident physician, currently making $62,000 a year. In a year and a half, I'll finish my training and I'll be making around $250,000 a year pre-tax. I have $327,000 of student loans, majority medical school loans, no other loans on cars or credit cards, no credit cards owned. I have about $27,000 in cash in my bank account because I save. Really no other good reason. My question is, do I place a lump sum of maybe $15,000, $16,000 after I have my 3 to 6 month savings in emergency fund paid out? Do I deposit that $17,000 onto my loans that are currently exorbitant compared to my income, especially while they're in a 0% interest rate until January 2022? Or do I just use this money and have a little bit more fun in my life, since my debt-to-income ratio is so high, and then wait to when I become a fully fledged physician and I'll be making a lot more money and then pay down my loans?
Okay, let's cut the commercial. Let's get this. I know where we're going with this one. I love the question, first of all, and the enthusiasm of the intro, by the way. If you're listening and you're wondering how to bump to the top of the queue, give me some enthusiastic opening, because he just sent this in last week, and I was like, boom, Steve, like Vetter. What was his last name? He had a fire last name.
That was
like,
correct.
Hey guys, Stevie Vetter here. If the whole medical thing doesn't work out, he can go into broadcasting.
Yeah, that pays better.
Okay, couple of things. First of all, if you heed what I'm about to say, Steve, you will be so thankful in about 10 years, maybe sooner. Here's what I encourage you to do. When you start making the good money that you have worked so hard to make, please, please continue to live like you are making $62,000 a year. I cannot tell you the number of medical professionals, and many, I guarantee there's people listening right now that are in the profession. You have been making big money for years and you're broke. You're broke. You're living paycheck to paycheck. You got an exorbitant debt that's not being paid off, but you got 2 great cars, in a big house, beautiful neighborhood, kids are going to private school, you're part of the country club, because you deserve it. Because you spent all that time in medical school and your residence and your fellowship and all the rest of that. And now we need to have a little fun, as Steve said. And unfortunately, what happens is you start acquiring these things. You may even pay cash for some of these things, but there's these little things like taxes and insurance and maintenance and upkeep and you name it that continues to take its toll on your bi-monthly paycheck. And pretty soon, you're paycheck to paycheck and you're making $300,000-$400,000 a year. How do I know this? Because I see it every day, constantly. It's unbelievable to me. And I think we kind of set it up this way. I hate to say it. The system. Because Steve has probably been, he's 28. He's been in school for
Ever.
And he's sick of it. And all he does is work and then study and work and study. And then sometimes he's going to come and he's going to get that big paycheck. But Steve, be different. Be different. And it's just a little bit longer. A little bit longer. And if you do this and you decide to sock the money away towards these student loans and you live like a pauper and you just gazelle-like intensity pay this debt off while your friends are doing all this other nonsense, and they will be, and it will be harder than it is to say no to, Thirsty Thursdays when you got a test on Friday. I know that's difficult, but this will be even harder when they're buying the Beamers and the Benz or the Teslas. I'm sorry, they're going to buy all the Teslas, and they buy the new house, and you want to do the same, but you're living in your parents' basement. You're driving your Honda, but here's what will happen. You will leapfrog them in wealth, and then you will be able to do anything you want to do in a very short period of time. Now, some people listening may go, $327,000, that's crazy. I can't believe somebody. Well, guess what? He's going from 62 to 250. So let's say he busted his butt and could make 100. That's a $150,000 increase because he got $327,000 in student loans. And what I would say to that is, what's the ROI? What's over 50%? Pretty good ROI. A lot of debt, pretty good ROI. Pay it off, Steve. Pay it off. Don't live like all the other people that are going to graduate with their white coats. Or do you get a white coat when you start? I always get that confused. and they spend their money and then they end up broke. What say you, Daniel?
Certainly they don't get a white coat till they're done.
I don't know. There's a white coat ceremony. I think that's when you're
Resident?
inducted into medical school or something like that. I don't know.
Then how do you know who's a real doctor?
They have a stethoscope on. I don't know.
Fair.
I have no idea. I have no clue. I just made that up. There's some kind of process like that. Because somebody was like, oh, white coat ceremony. And I was like, holy cow, already graduated? She's like, no, she's going. I was like, oh, okay.
So anybody can walk into your room with a white coat and you're like,
yeah, maybe they don't embroider it until you, or they, your name and then they add the MD when you.
Oh, it's like the stars at Cracker Barrel.
Maybe. That might be it. I don't know. Let's talk about Steve and him not doing what he really wants to do, which is spend his money and have a little fun.
Yeah, he shouldn't have fun for the next 3 years.
Be miserable, Steve.
Yeah, not miserable, but
yes, miserable.
He's led an okay life, I think, up until now. He's managed. He's got on well. He's a resident, so it's not like he has that much extra time on his hands.
He has no extra time. Have you watched Grey's Anatomy? Holy cow.
No, I didn't.
Still going on right now. It's like in his 52nd season.
Holy moly. Jeez. Yeah, but I think his future self is going to really thank him if he really gets aggressive and and pays this down. And it seems like, I mean, he's got no other debt going on. So he can really attack this pretty quickly, I think, especially in a year and a half when he starts getting pretty good income. Now,
well, but you know as well as I do, he's gonna. The take home is he's gonna be like,
it's gonna
what?
get knocked down dramatically.
Yeah,
but
number one, you're gonna start socking 10% away in your retirement account, right? You're gonna start putting, so that's $25,000 right off the top. Now you're at $225,000. The government's gonna take their 40%. So you're basically bringing home $3,500 every paycheck. And again, you might think, well, that's amazing. That's a lot more. Well, when you're socking, $2,000 of that away, that's $48,000 a year going to your student loans. It's going to still take some time. It's going to be tough.
yeah, but he can get pretty aggressive on it, I think. Now, I probably wouldn't sock down, if it were me, I wouldn't sock down a huge chunk now while you're paying 0% interest on student loans. But the minute that those go to interest again in February of 2022, then I would make a big lump sum payment, try to be paying as little interest as possible. But yeah, I mean, once you get that bump up in salary, if you could keep the apartment you have now or the condo you have now or whatever it is and live at least a year or two as if, so that you're just chunking as much money away, it's going to stink. Like, you're not going to like it. We went through periods like that where we kind of lived as if, as income rose over time. And it's not really fun because you're like, well, we could do better than this. But if you really pay off that debt and set yourself up, you're going to look back and be extremely thankful for that. The flip side is you still have this debt, and 5 or 10 years later, you really want to be doing something, whether it is buying a house or going on vacations, or you just want to be done with it, really. You kind of want it to be in the rear view, and you still have 50, 60% of that debt still outstanding. It just becomes this anchor that holds you down for years upon years. So the sooner that you just go ahead and get really aggressive and pay that off, you're already used to living whatever standard of living you have. So if you can just maintain that, knowing that on the flip side of that is decades of just really freedom, go for it.
You know who David Goggins is?
Yes.
Okay.
The name sounds really familiar, but I can't think of it.
So he's the Navy SEAL. He
Yes.
was dropped 200 pounds or whatever, held the pull-up record, wrote "You Can't Hurt Me." So there's a series of, you could Google or YouTube, Goggins motivation.
Mm-hmm.
I have a clip that I have saved, and I promise myself one thing. When I get up on Tuesday morning or Thursday morning, which are my run days, and it's 5:15, and I'm going outside at 5:30, it's dark, it's cold, it's miserable, and I would rather sit in my house, I promise myself the following. I will listen to this clip, and if I still choose to stay in, that's on me. But I have to listen to the clip. That's what I've promised myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've never chosen to stay inside. Why do I say that? Save this episode. Because in 6 months, in 9 months, in 12 months, whatever it is, you're going to struggle. And you're going to be like, I'm exhausted. Come back to this episode. We're talking to you, Steve, and I want to hear about the success in the future, and you have made this decision to pay off this debt and be gazelle-like intense and live like no other so that you can live like no other in the future. I'm totally stealing all of Ramsey's stuff right now, but it's truth, and it will change your life, and it will change the trajectory of your family's life for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I think one thing I would want to encourage him with is the first, 1/3 to 1/2 of paying off debt is terrible.
Yeah.
Because it feels like nothing's moving. It just feels like you're throwing money away and it's still really far off. What I would do, whether it's on your statements or whether you create a spreadsheet, is I would track how much interest you're paying every month, because it's really motivating in that first third or half to see the amount of interest you're paying each month going down dramatically, which means then that the amount of your dollars going to the principal and knocking off the balance is increasing every month. So that was one way when we had more debt early on that we stayed motivated with, that is just going, okay, we're paying this much in interest just to have this debt exist, and we want to see that dramatically go down to zero, obviously.
Yep.
So.
I think Daniel and I are both examples of people who have decided early on that we were going to live different than other people while other people were doing all of these great things. I remember it vividly. And now, fast forward, we can do all the great things and don't have to be concerned about debt or putting it, how we're going to pay for it or all the rest of this stuff. It's true in this situation, and I feel for people, the price inflation we're seeing in grocery stores and gas pumps, utilities is real. It's absolutely real, and I'm certain it's hurting people's pocketbooks and will continue to hurt their pocketbooks in the future. It's much easier to absorb variable price increases in your budget when you have little to no fixed debt payments. That's a huge, huge difference to think of as well. So anyways, that's it. Let's wrap it up. That was good. All right, Steve, great question. We'll send you a $25 gift card. You could probably sell that for $20 and apply it towards the $327,000 in debt.
I'll make a dent.
All right. Remember, friends, the secret to wealth is pretty simple. Live on less than you make, even if you make a ton of money, and invest the rest or pay off debt.
Good.
And do so for a very long time. Make it a great one.